What the hell is even that?
Why? So, holy shit. All right, you
Oh,
ready to get this shit show on the road?
yes, sir.
We'll keep a little bit of that NFL talk in the
Yeah,
podcast. What is up,
yeah.
everybody? Welcome back to the WASD and Beyond podcast. We are your hosts, Nick and Brody. I like that better than I am your host, and
We
this is your
are.
co-host. We are your hosts.
Is this like a We Are Venom type of situation?
We're a
Is that what's
hive
going
mind
on
here.
here?
We're
Oh,
see, people
oh,
think we would be a hive mind because this is our show, right? We think very differently. Kind of,
yeah, yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
It- listen,
Sa- Same and different.
same and different.
We complement, all right?
We are your hosts, though, Nick and Brody. For those new listening to the show, welcome. Thank you for checking out the show. I'm assuming there might be a lot of new listeners this week due to the nature of the topic we are going to be speaking of, which is Fallout. We've been teasing it. We're going to go through the entirety of Fallout, the season that has been a smash hit all over the world. Can't say enough good, but before we get there, let's plug the sponsors. Final
Yeah,
Boss and Doc Longy.
let's. And by let's, I mean you. You plug the sponsors.
I got this. So Final Boss is dropping today. The we drop our episode at 5. They drop the clothing later on in the day. Get ready. They're doing a huge Fallout drop. T-shirts, a hoodie, wall flag, a pin, a secret T-shirt, which they released yesterday, which is the Ghoul shirt, which
Yeah,
I need that shirt. That's sick. That was a good idea.
yeah. It's so
Um,
good.
it's a huge drop, and there might be a little surprise sprinkled in there. I think that Final Boss is doing, which is super sick. So keep your eye on that. Um, that drops again today. So after you listen to this episode, go to the Final Boss website and just hit F5 million times. Get in on that drop. Um, Doc Longy is dropping MF Doom and Taylor Swift merch. Lots of cool shit from Doc Longy. Dude is wild. Always dropping gnarly shit. First 10 customers get a Doom chain, like a figure,
Sweet.
MF Doom figure chain. It's fucking amazing. It's like gold. Go check
Hell yeah.
Go check their Instagrams, check the Twitters, go check out the merch. So check out the sponsors, Final Boss and Doc Longy. And while you're at it, please head on over to the Spawn Camp community. The Discord is free. It's always in the link of the show. Come game with us, watch TV. When football season comes back, watch football games with us and watch us yell at each other. For me, you can watch football, which soccer matches with me. But there's a lot of cool things to do.
You gotta put more
Food.
emphasis on the food.
I'm
Food.
not I'm not Spanish. That's how they do it. In Romania, just be football. So they do. My dad will be like, "Yes, the football." And I'm like, "All right, fucking fake ass Ivan Drago, chill out." But yeah, the server's free. It's a good time. I think a lot of the guys in there playing Overcooked. They're playing fucking
Some
Fallout,
CS going on right
Counter
now.
Strike. Yeah, there's a lot in that server. But there's plenty of places if you don't want to be a part of all of the commotion. There's plenty of places for you to bring your friends in the server.
Yeah, if
Um,
you want to come play Overcooked and be verbally abused by me, if that's like a kink of yours, we can make it happen.
I do not own Overcooked. I need to get it to play with the guys.
Yes.
Um, but
I
yeah,
get a
I
little intense. It's fine.
feel like you need
It's
to though.
fine. Yeah, you have to. Somebody has to run this goddamn kitchen, and it's gonna be me.
Well,
Okay.
you got to wrangle our people because everyone in the spawn camp who's a regular is so hmm, stubborn.
Yeah.
Everyone is very stubborn. They
Yeah.
do things their fucking way. So you got to wrangle these guys, and
Hmm.
Brody's got the arms to do so. So it's true. It's true. But while you're at it, there
So
is D
cool.
and D sessions that happen. And Brody, do you want to plug the show?
Yeah, so Roll for Deception finally came back this week. We had to take a couple weeks off because life got busy, but it is an actual play D&D podcast. We play typically weekly, and we play on Mondays. Usually the episode goes up on Thursdays, but I'm trying to get it out on Wednesdays so we don't crowd WASD. So going forward, everything will be coming out on Wednesdays. We had an episode that came out this week, and we will have an episode next week as well because some things freed up and I think we'll be on a slight break again, like maybe a week or two, but then we'll be back and should be good for a while. But most of the time, it'll come out every week. We've got two different campaigns going on right now. One of them I am the DM for, and the other campaign, our good friend Nick, is the DM. One is more of like Nick's campaign is like a kind of fantasy type setting, whereas mine is more of a cyberpunk type setting. But we're having a lot of fun, a lot of cliffhangers and things going on right now. So no better time to jump in and catch up, as we had a little bit of a break there. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, please check out Roll for Deception. A lot of cool stuff that Brody cooks up, Nick cooks up, and it's fun to listen to. I've hopped into a few of their sessions as quietly as I can before I turned off my intro whenever I'd hop into a different channel. Man, that was a
I
fucking nightmare.
always I just delete your audio. It's fine.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's a great time. Check it out and hop into the server, and maybe another campaign will open up, or you'll find people to play D&D with. Hop in. The NFL draft, as we were talking about earlier in the show. If you guys get any of that, I don't know. I might edit a good amount of that out. It's just me and Brody searching. It's happening. That's why we're wearing our respective jerseys for our teams right now. Lions pick at 29th, and the Ravens pick at 30th, which Brody's not happy about. But hey, baby, let's
Yeah,
go.
it's fine. It's fine.
You know it's gonna be cool. I'm gonna call it in the show right now.
What's up?
Lions. This is the year.
You're gonna jinx it, buddy.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
You're
Nope.
gonna
Nope.
jinx it.
Nope. 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 I'm saying it. We're gonna do it. Dan Campbell's got his schnuts ready to go, dude. He's got them
You're
cojones,
not wrong. I do love Dan Campbell. I,
dude.
I was cheering for Detroit. I mean, not as much as I was cheering for Baltimore, but I was cheering for Detroit.
Dude, I think the entire country was though. Everyone, because like the Super Bowl we
Oh yeah.
got was fucking weak, and
Oh, that sucked.
Had Detroit made it in, I'm gonna say this: had Detroit made it in, the Chiefs would have lost with how they were playing that night.
Yeah, that's fair.
They
That's
would.
fair.
I would have loved to see fucking stupid Mahomes. I'm so sorry to Brody's kids. Patrick
Just kid,
Mahomes'
one kid.
kid, his one child, who needs to be disciplined for his actions.
I had to put up a bunch of. He's my youngest is a huge Chiefs fan, and I had to put up. We got him fat heads of
Ugh.
Mahomes and Chiefs stuff for Christmas, and I had to put those up not too long ago.
I shot throw
Uh,
bows at them, bro. Hate him. I hate him so much.
eh, that's fair.
Anyways,
He's like the new Tom Brady, right? More or less, as far as like
yay.
being hated.
Good. Good.
Yeah, yeah,
Good. Fuck him. Him and his
yeah.
stupid wife and his brother. Okay. Fallout. You want or what if really quick? What have you played this week?
This week, let's see. Oh well, I came back from Michigan on Saturday and beat Cyberpunk. I got back at like 12:30 and then beat Cyberpunk. I stayed up to like 4.
What?
I don't know, man.
You're fucking crazy. That's a 2-hour drive, Bubba.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I played some Cyberpunk and then beat that, and then I'm kind of in a weird lull. I went back to try to play some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and just wasn't. I couldn't get into it again for some reason. I think it's gonna take me a little bit. But we played some Stickman Fight the other day,
That was
just
fun.
because. Yeah, it was one of those moments where I couldn't figure out what I wanted to play, and somebody suggested Stickman Fight, so there was a handful of us that hopped in and played, and that was actually a pretty good time for what it was, right? I don't think it's gonna be a mainstay by any means, but still fun. I think we played some Overcooked last Friday. That's kind of been our weekend game when everybody's drinking, having fun, hanging out. And tomorrow, Stellar Blade comes out, and I'll be able to talk about that on the episode next week. Don't you roll your fucking
Did you
eyes?
see Sony had to patch out something really quick?
Yeah, I heard about that.
The hard R bar.
Well, what it was it was two signs beside each
Oh,
other.
I know that what I
Yeah,
know they didn't mean it like
yeah.
that, but seeing the when you see the screenshot, you're like, what?
Whoops. Yeah,
You're like, oh
yeah.
man,
Mind you, it is a Korean developer, so
they don't. They I don't think they know.
the intricacies and such, like but and that hard graffiti, I guess, is like all over the place. But it is a very unfortunate coincidence
It's a
for
very
sure.
unfortunate placement. Yeah, it's like, ooh.
Yeah. Oops.
Oh man.
But yeah, I'm giving him hopefully the benefit of the doubt there. If not, like, yeah, whoopsies. And I think they did something with like one of the outfits too, where they made it a little less revealing.
The game is
I
horny.
saw something about it. It's honestly so a lot of the reviews that I've been listening to and stuff because the embargo lifted today, Thursday,
Right.
when we're recording. A lot of people were saying it's not actually even all that bad. Like it's not something that's really in your face, and
Oh,
as you're
okay.
playing it, like with the combat and everything, you really don't notice it. It's just that like initial kind of like sticker shock type of deal, like not, but a lot of people are, I mean, it's getting reviewed very well. A lot of
Oh, I'm
people are
not
giving
shocked.
it like eights, nines in that ballpark, a couple seven, like lower sevens, depending on the outlet, right? But yeah, for the most part, I'm actually really excited. I had a good time with the demo, and I'm that's gonna be my game for probably at least the next week. I mean, I'll play it until I beat it, but
Yeah.
uh, definitely pretty hard over the next week. That way I can talk about it on the next episode.
Cannot wait to hear about how the character's butt jiggles.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it. Don't worry.
Oh, I know you will. I've been playing a lot of Fallout. Obviously, I went back to Fallout 3 in New Vegas. I've reinstalled 4 because the update came out today. So if you want to get back into, or yesterday technically, whatever. Came out Thursday. We're recording on Thursday, but I'm going to talk as if we're in the future. So it came out yesterday, and it was met well for PC players and I believe Xbox players. The PlayStation Plus, uh, oh my god, whatever tier it was, didn't get it for free. The right now it didn't roll out same. I don't know. There's a problem. PlayStation people are fucking mad.
Or
Because
a
it,
Steam Deck people.
yeah, Steam Deck people as well. But everyone, I'm hearing good things other than the ultra wide UI. It's just stretched. It's fucked. I heard, and it's like,
Well,
okay,
I mean, it wasn't a pretty game to begin with. Like the
yeah.
fidelity on it has never been anything that stands out. So then take that game and stretch it. I can't imagine it looks very good. Like no matter
No.
what they did, it would be a full overhaul to really even be able to make that happen in any meaningful way. But I saw that people that were trying to play it on Steam Deck because it's now verified for Steam Deck, and really the only thing they did was get rid of the launcher that you'd have to go into.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
and other than that, you're just like, it's Fallout 4.
Dude, like, I think the marketing behind this next gen update was really stupid. You should have just called it a big update. It's or an update to
Yeah.
Fallout 4. You shouldn't have called it the next. You're not. It's not. Whatever. Um.
I'm
Well,
gonna mod the fuck out of it is what I'm gonna do.
and all the
There's a
mods
ton
broke.
of
All the mods broke. London's not coming out on time. There's a bunch of. At the end of the day, here's my take on that. When it comes to Fallout London, it's you are a mod,
yeah.
and a very cool mod that's going to come out and wanted and loved by the community. I don't think Bethesda. It'd be cool if Bethesda would reach out to these creators who are working on this giant mod and tell them like, "Hey, this is what you're going to need. We're going to send you this or whatever." But it's not Bethesda's fucking job to reach out to a modding team and be like, "Your mod might not work." It's not really.
th-
Job.
They're not gonna do that too. I mean, the best Fallout game from the past 20
Vegas.
years is Vegas, a
Yeah.
company that a third party company, and it's like I'm pretty sure Bethesda is well aware of that, and they're like, yeah, you know what, nobody else is gonna outshine us anymore. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
you know what, all it takes is someone else to make a game and they're probably gonna outshine you. Let's be
Yeah, the
honest.
Bethesda charm at this point is not working. Kind of.
The Bethesda charm, as far as their games themselves, wore off for me a while ago.
Yeah.
But I do love the worlds that they create. Like
Oh yeah.
overall, I think the settings and everything are really cool. And I mean, obviously, we're gonna talk extensively about Fallout here. I just bought all of the Fallout games again so I could play them on PC and mod the ever living shit out of them. But first thing I'm gonna do is download a mod that makes it actually look like a good game, and then go from there and
You just
actually like
you're about to get us flamed so bad.
Nobody in their right fucking mind would argue that Fallout 4 is a pretty game.
I understand. You
Nobody.
got to be careful. We got to be careful with this. I have Vault Boy tattooed on the back of my neck. You guys cannot come after me.
I I fucking love Fallout,
I know.
but I'm also gonna download a mod that makes it
Makes it
look
look even
good.
better. It will be 17 times the detail.
Right? Like, yeah, there's like a I think there's a 2K HD retexture type of deal where they did like 1,000 assets or something and put threw them into the game. There's
That's
a
sweet.
regular HD one too. Like somebody's spent a lot of fucking time doing all
I've
of that,
seen
right?
I've seen mods for both New Vegas and 3 where it's like this takes off the green tint, this takes off the yellow tint, and then you see it and you're like, "Oh, I wish you wouldn't have put that tint over top because this looks gorgeous."
Hmm.
Even for like the Xbox 360 era, I'm like, "This looks really fucking good."
It's always been a thing that like the joke is that Bethesda makes a cool sandbox and then modders actually go in and fix the
And
game.
make
Like
the game,
it's
yeah.
like that's been a long-standing thing since probably Morrowind.
I would say so, yeah. Now,
And
maybe
even
more Oblivion. Maybe more
yeah,
Oblivion.
I there's mods and stuff for Morrowind now, but yeah, I would say Oblivion was when that probably started to take off a little
Yeah.
bit more. But especially by the time you get to Skyrim, I mean, holy cow.
I also don't like the creation club. Like, I don't like the idea. I mean, I like the idea for paying the creators.
Yeah.
If like mod creators want to get paid and the mod is worth the money, then I'm cool with that. I don't think I don't want to give Bethesda any of that money though. Like I understand like it's the mod they're using the this we're not going there. Anyways, while Bethesda may have not won everybody over with this update, they did win people over with the help of Amazon Studios
Yes.
and everybody behind the show. We talked about it last week. Episode 1, we gave it a 10 out of 10 to start off this series. From here on out, we're going to talk about the entirety of the show. We were going to go episode by episode by episode by episode and drag this thing out for 8 weeks. We decided against it. And last week, again, we had Logan come up to Michigan and Brody came up to Michigan and we all kind of hung out and did our thing. So we took a week off. But yeah, dude, I want to kind of jump right into the show and just really talk about it, man, because this was very special. From episode 1 to episode 8, this show was full of life, full of characters. It was Fallout through and through. Easter eggs are aplenty. I'm still sure there's shit we all missed. Episode 2. This is full spoiler, by the way. I think it's been out for a couple weeks now. We're going full bore. Uh, Jonathan Nolan and his team really fucking took the time to sprinkle as much love and detail and fan service in a very non-disrespectful way. Because there's some things where you see fan service and it feels like, well, see, look, we did the thing. So now you can't be mad at us when the rest of the thing sucks. Like the Halo show does that sometimes. You're like, look, there's an original Xbox on the shelf. It's, And I'm like, yeah, cool, but the rest of the thing sucks.
Yeah.
Fallout is not that. You're in a shop and you can see a mini nuke, a Grognak the Barbarian comic, fucking plenty of the books used in the games to up your stats. Like there is so much everywhere. I mean, the fucking who's the original voice actor for Codsworth? Oh my fucking god. Help, please.
I'm looking.
He is in the show as well, live in person.
Stephen Stephen Russell.
Was
No,
that him?
that's a different Codsworth. Hang on.
I just need to know that who was Mr. Handy in the show.
Yeah. So, Stephen Russell apparently was the original.
Okay.
No. Yeah, it says Stephen Russell, but that's obviously who was not, or that was not who was in the show.
No, no, no. I forget who that was. We're gonna be crucified already. Whatever. But like details like that were sweet. The pre-war stuff in this was really thought out and just masterfully done. Cooper Howard is easily a compelling character. from pre-war to ghoulification. We'll just say that. Then, um, yeah, man, this show is a fucking slam dunk for Amazon. What up? You find something?
Sebastian Leslie, I
I
think.
I don't know. Let's not get hung up on that.
You can keep talking. I'll find it.
Oh
You
my
you
god.
just keep on talking.
Um, I mean, like I said, I just fucking loved it all though, right? Like the practical effects were amazing. Even when there's CGI there, it doesn't feel overbearing. The Easter eggs were fucking phenomenal in the show. There's not an ounce of the show like in the wasteland where you don't feel Fallout. When you're in a vault, it is very much a vault. Everything is authentic and just beautiful. I really do. I love all three of our main characters.
Matt Berry, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, he was phenomenal in this. Maximus is amazing. He's like got chaotic, neutral energy a bit. Like he does some fucked up shit, but only because fucked up shit is being done to him. And then he meets Lucy, and then it's this whole thing of like, okay, maybe I don't want to do this, and I just want peace. Lucy's just, everyone can relate to Lucy because her story is just, I need to go find X, Y, and Z family member, which is her father. Um, that was good, even though we've seen that in other Bethesda titles for Fallout, where it's just, hey, go find your person, right, your family member. But in this, it works because of what they do with the story, and then obviously the ghoul, which I felt was the strongest story of the show, in my opinion. And I loved Lucy's story, I loved Maximus's story, and I like how they all intertwined eventually, to a degree. Um, it was a ride, man. Each episode fucking kept me like just hooked. I didn't want to stop when I'd watch it. Me and my wife had a blast watching it. My wife is also a Fallout fan, so I'm sitting there fucking freaking out, and she's just quietly freaking out, right? Like she's like, "Dude, this is wild." But the show is just awesome in what it does and what it's portraying and what it's pushing and guiding you to, right? Like everything that it's doing, it feels like there's a reason. And I brought up breathing. The show has time to breathe. Like no scene, in my opinion, really felt rushed. Like nothing here was really like rushed, or like nothing was really condensed for the sake of being condensed. It was all just there for you. Um, from the scene where she's in the super duper mart, which that was fucked up. That was a whole fucked up thing that was about to happen to her. But that was sick because you get to see more ghouls, and then there's more ferals, and then you got those junky, those dudes that are on chems that are trying to sell her and her organs, and that's a whole fight. It it's just fucking awesome. The attention to detail that was given to this show, and that's the reason why it was loved and had 1 million viewers watching the show in its first week. This thing is a smash hit. Fallout's not going anywhere, and it's fucking Fallout fever in across the world right now, which has led to Fallout 76 hitting 1 million players, which is wild. I think they capped the servers now. Fallout 4 is selling gangbusters in Europe right now, I believe was what was the article I read. All the Fallouts from 1, 2, Tactics 3 and up have seen an uptick on Steam or wherever you play them. Like this show has just started a wildfire that I don't think the team at Amazon is really ready for, because now that season 1 is ended and we're left on the cliffhanger we're left on, which me and Brody will definitely go into detail about that cliffhanger after Brody gives a little bit of his stuff, and then we'll go. This it's going to be huge back and forths. They need to move at a reasonable pace with this show, though, is what I'm trying to say, because I can't wait another year.
You're
I know,
probably gonna have to
I
wait
know,
longer than that.
I understand that.
Probably closer to like, yeah, I don't know, 2 years would be my
We'll
guess.
see, because there was that phone number that is on the screen that you can call. If you
Hmm.
call it, it's a man screaming. If you text it, you can sign up for their promotional shit. But it says something along the lines of your vault will be ready in 33 weeks. 33 weeks from now would be November. That's when Bethesda typically likes to talk about things. Is it November time? People are kind of theorizing that we will hear something about something in November. It's all in the math, bro.
Just because you hear something about it doesn't mean it's coming out. especially when Bethesda is attached to it. It's been 6 years since we first saw Elder Scrolls 6, so
I get that. I get that.
do you?
Oh, okay. I get it because I know for a fact we're not getting another Fallout game for at least a decade.
I doubt it's a full decade. That's a long
You want to go
time.
8 years then? You want to stop at an even 8?
No, I bet in the next 4 to 5 years we'll see one,
You
which
be
is
4 years after. It'd be cool if they get back to that cycle.
4 years after what?
Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls is allegedly supposed to come like 2026.
I know that, but I'm saying like, so you think it's gonna be coming a couple years after Elder Scrolls?
They have different teams, my guy.
I know that, but they are so slow with what they're doing nowadays.
Fallout 4 came out in what, 2012?
2013, I believe.
A short
Pretty off.
11 years ago.
That's a long time.
I understand. That's my point. I was being sarcastic.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. I love the show. We have a lot to talk about. Brody, can you give just let you spill your, as Wizard of the Bruiser would say, your gush.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, spilling gush is not a
No,
sentence
I
that I
don't.
enjoyed.
How do they do that every week?
Ooh. So yes, I thoroughly enjoyed all of the show. We powered through it quicker than I think we've powered through almost any show, and not in a way of like I want to get this over with. It was very much enjoyable. My wife actually really, really enjoyed it, and she said she liked it more than the Last of Us, which I could not believe because we talked about it last week, where The Last of Us, fantastic story, but for a lot of people, it was a story they've already heard or a story
Yeah.
they were familiar with enough to be like, okay, well, there's not too many crazy things happening, right? Um, whereas in this, it is an original story. They're able to tell something that is different and, adds to the world while not, taking too many of its own liberties. Um, but yeah, this show for me was incredible, right? I love the Fallout universe. I love everything that they have going on there. That 1950s kind of vibe with the futuristic and yeah, I mean, just the morbidness of the world as a whole. And I think they captured it exceptionally well, and even in ways that I think are often darker than what you ever saw in the games, even, right?
Yeah.
Um, the I think the way they told the story was exceptionally well done. Like I think like you said, they spent time on everything, and it to the point where episodes felt very long, and not in a bad way. They
Yeah.
just felt like so much happened from beginning to end, and it wasn't like a rush. It just felt long, if that if that makes any
Didn't
sense.
waste your time. Yeah.
No, it didn't waste your time by any means. Every scene had value in some way, shape, or form, whether it be building a story or expanding upon something, and sometimes they were just kind of funny scenes, right? Like they did have a few of those scenes where it is something that didn't necessarily push the narrative forward, but it was something that was enjoyable
Yeah.
and a good little side shot from what was going on. But I think overall, I mean, it was a cohesive story. Everything came together exceptionally well. Like you said, the three characters and how their paths intertwined. Maximus to me was probably the weakest portion of this. I never really fully enjoyed his character personally, and I don't know. He was just a weird character, right? His all of his and it makes sense, right? Like the way that he interacts with people is very awkward, and because he was, taken as a child to join the brotherhood, so it would make sense that he is not exactly the most socially apt person, I
It's all
suppose.
trauma based with
Yeah.
Maximus. Like it's all a lot of trauma responses.
But yeah, and I don't think the actor did a bad job by any means, and
No.
it's not a stab at that. It's just I never really enjoyed his character personally. It was fine. It never bugged me or anything. It was just out of the three paths that we really saw, his felt the weakest to me. I think Lucy had a very good path, and granted, a lot of hers wasn't even about her own story. It was about her vault
Yeah.
and what happened there, and kind of the past, pre-war. And obviously, I mean, Walton Goggins as the Ghoul was incredible.
Powerhouse, dude.
He stole every fucking scene he was in. Um, I absolutely loved his character. He was an asshole, and it was fucking great though. I mean, he just did such a great job, that he's a standout for sure. In a very strong casting, I think. I think the lady who played Lucy, I'm drawing a blank on her name at the moment, but she did incredible as well. I think she played that naive character exceptionally well to the point of making it incredibly believable. She was, I like when 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 her and Maximus are. This is probably one of my favorite character
Ella
interactions, just
Purnell.
because yeah. Um, the character interaction when they fall into
Oh
vault,
fuck, man! I knew you were gonna do that.
yeah, it's so good though.
What
It's
did they
such a
say,
good.
Brody?
I will. I'm getting there. I'm
All
getting there.
right.
I'll cover it. But being the way she is and the way she was raised in the vault, where it was kind of this weird thing where they just sex was recreational. Because what else are you gonna do
With
when
your
you're underground?
family.
I suppose. Yeah. She just says she just asks him if he wants to have sex, and he being raised in essentially a very uh r- religious zealot type of
Yeah.
situation, he's like, well, sometimes that hurts because it gets hard, and then it explodes like a pimple,
Oh,
and it just which is fucking disturbing as hell, right? But
disgusting.
it really painted their two very opposing views exceptionally well, where it was gross, and it was a fucking sentence that I wish I'd never heard, but at the same time, like, I think it was, while that didn't necessarily have to be the way that it happened, it never felt out of place, right? And
Yeah.
and I think it kind of made him seem a little bit more, not relatable, but like a human, right? Somebody
Yeah.
with that trauma in the childhood and general, like, preteen, teenage years that he had. It makes sense. But yeah, I think they did a great job with the show. Every moment of it was entertaining. The way they brought it all together was crazy. I can't I think once it started to get close to where it revealed what was going on, like I was starting to kind of have an idea of what was happening, but they actually didn't leave too many breadcrumbs up until they were ready to reveal things, which I thought was good because a lot of times shows can be incredibly predictable. And maybe some of it was just I was just enjoying the show too much to really pick up on some of it, right? And um, I I loved it. I loved it. I don't know. It was
It
good.
it
Very,
it,
very good.
it had a lot of awesome like curveball moments in the show too that I really enjoyed because there's a couple times where the show will, I don't want to say mislead you, but it kind of like, so when they fall into that vault, and I fucking wish I didn't forget what vault was it, Vault 4?
Yeah. I
So when
think
they
it's
fall
four.
into Vault 4, for a minute there, because it does this pan out when he's like, "You want to help me make my cock explode?" And I was like, "Oh," but it does this pan out where it says experiment in
Yeah.
progress or whatever. I'm like, okay, so like, did they do this to them or did they do that to them to make them horny? Or that was like what my mind went to, and I'm like, oh no, he's just really naive, and this is how she was raised.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just gone, Then Maximus is like immediately like, oh, I love this. That's what drew me to Maximus because like for that throughout the entire show, you see him really want to be this knight. Like he lets Titus die, right? Because Titus is first off, Michael Rappaport was not who I expected to be in the show, given a bit of heat that he's in right now. But everyone was pissed about that. I'm like, he dies right then and there. Just enjoy that if you don't like him.
Yeah. And he was a shithead the entire time he was in it. Like
It is what it
fair
is.
enough.
Yeah, he dies right then and there. But I like that because Maximus. has to hold on to this lie for so long, but then he takes the power armor, and then Thaddeus drops down. And he's like, "Hey, man, by the way," and the thing, he's like, "You're not fucking Titus." Like, oh shit! It's like he tried telling Maxim or Thaddeus the truth, and he wanted it so bad until he knew what it was like down under in the vault, and he's like, "What? Fuck all of that." That's what I liked about Maximus. It was like this whole thing of like, I don't want that. If I could just sit here, eat clams and fucking popcorn and watch TV, that's all he wants from now on.
Yeah, and watching him act, I mean, essentially like a child in that
Yeah.
moment, right? His childish, like self-serving type of attitude that he never had the opportunity to have when he was, the proper age for something like
Yeah.
that. Watching him have that moment while he's in the vault and just enjoying, popcorn for the first time, the oysters for the first time,
Yeah.
like all of
Oysters. Yep.
these things, and the robe, he's like, they gave me a robe, like,
Yeah.
it was good for his character development, and it really painted a good picture of kind of what he was coming from. I mean, for people who weren't familiar with the Brotherhood, right?
Dude, it was awesome, man. It's just like two different worlds that Maximus is thrown into, and obviously where Maximus come from to then be a part of the Brotherhood, to then be back where it all started, which is Shady Sands, which I'm sure we'll get right to that very soon. Yeah, that's why I liked him, man. Even at the end for Maximus, it just felt so bittersweet because, like, basically at the end of the show, again, this is full spoilers. If you haven't finished it, go do that. Um, he is knighted. Like, Dane comes. Well, Dane is the one
Yeah,
throwing his hands up, like he killed Moldaver. He did it. This is Knight Maximus, and you can like
right.
see everything in him going, no, 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 not
Yeah,
just
that's
no.
not what he wanted anymore.
Yeah, it was like this whole snap of reality for him. And that's why I like the show. It goes deep into our characters. It doesn't take any of our characters for granted. Even side characters are just the doctor. I did not expect that doctor who was fucking chickens to be brought back later to be as important as he might be. So like it's respectful of everything that you see, and everything. It feels like a Fallout game in the sense of everything has a consequence. Every action is
Yes.
going to lead you down to a certain path. And yeah, it really sucked for Maximus, man. I was just like, he,
I will
you know,
say, like, uh, the only time I had an issue with the story was when he takes the wrong head back.
okay.
I'm I'm like, the way the Brotherhood is set up, that shit wouldn't have flied.
I think he knew
And
that though.
yeah, well, I understand that, but I there's no way that they would be like, okay, well, we're gonna forgive you for that, and then we're gonna send you on another mission. Like that part, kind of, I was like, this doesn't quite add up to me.
Yeah,
But at the same time, like, obviously, I'm glad they didn't just like off Maximus there or something stupid, right? But I felt like that part was a little iffy for me personally as far as story goes, but it's in the end it worked out well enough.
yeah,
But it was a touch messy there where I was surprised that it went the way it did because and on top of that, he could have like lied his ass off and been like, "Hey," but I also think that's part of his like childish naivety of like not knowing how to even properly lie and be like, "Oh
yeah.
man,
He's a
this is the
terrible
head
liar.
given, right?" Like, "No, she gave me this head and that's what I thought it was the right one. I didn't know. I didn't know. I know where she was going, like he could have lied his ass off and made it work. Um but instead, it all worked out, but it was a touch messy there. Other than that though.
I think with that whole scene, it was again Maximus's naivete, right? Like that he would get away with it, and he does get away with it due to like Dane stepping up, like, hey, listen, like I know he can lead us pretty much to where it is, right? They're going to the observatory. Not that Dane knows that at this point, but you know, and the Brotherhood of Steel. It's interesting because the oh fuck, what I forget what they call him. the
The
leader at
leader
that
guy.
yeah, I forget what they call him at that point. I'm gonna get flamed for that. But he's like, listen, like, you think you're the first squire to take his knight's armor? Because he calls that shit out immediate. He's like, that's the knight's red.
Yeah.
Where is your knight? And when he asked him like how did he die later on, he goes, he died running. And that's when like you can see when Maximus is trying to lie, and then when Maximus is 100%, he's like, he died running,
Hmm.
a coward. And then that's when he knew right then and there. It was like, okay, this Maximus might be the real deal to do what he needs to do. So it didn't bother me. That entire radio station scene, though, was phenomenal. Fred Armisen, right?
Yeah.
I freaked the fuck out. I was messaging Evan going, Fred, 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 like just like spamming him. And I was like, this is great. Like he's the radio host. He's like talking about flute music and how it sends people into it. It just makes people mad. It just makes me, and it's just so fucking funny, man. And I love that he was the radio host, even if for an episode. Um, like the big ass like comically huge like mouse traps, bear traps, and
Yeah.
like they're all there. And then like you discover because Thaddeus, that's the thing I was talking about with the doctor. Like this doctor shows up again, and he's got a fucking pipe shotgun in his mouth, and he's just this little piggy is close to pulling that trigger, and then just here comes Thaddeus limping because at this point Thaddeus took the head from
Hmm.
Maximus. And I was like, okay, cool. Like Thaddeus's leg is obviously broken, or his foot is fucked up. Something.
Yeah, his foot's real fucked up.
And he ditches dog meat at the Red Rocket, which is cool. But it's funny though, because when the show was first getting announced, and you see the set production of the Red Rocket, I was like, oh, this is gonna be huge. It's literally like they used it for 2 scenes. I was like, really? Like that was a big recreation. Like a lot of what you see is what you see in the show. Whatever's not actually destroyed is like a real set, which I really fuck with. But like, I very much so liked Thaddeus wandering past this shady doctor and thinking he was gonna pull one over on him for just the doctor to be like, I know these chems, I can make the chem. Which one's noxious and which one isn't? And he's like,
Right.
fucking fine. Like, I don't got caps, but I give you this fusion core, which that is really cool that they're showing the fusion cores, which that was a fun little moment too. We can go back to at
Yeah.
Vault 4. Um, but he takes this medicine out of a jet pipe pretty much, and I think it's FEV, like a botched FEV, forced
Hmm.
evolutionary virus, or yeah, I believe that's what it was. And I think Thaddeus become because Thaddeus gets shot in the neck by an arrow. He's like, why am I not dead? And he pulls the arrow out and his neck heals. And Maximus goes, I think you're a ghoul, dude. And he's like, oh no. His like reaction is so is like, no, no. And you know, I think that's super mutant of some sort. Like I think he might be turning into a super mutant. I could be wrong. I could be fucking wrong.
Yeah, it's certainly possible because they don't. I mean, at that point, he runs off, and we don't see him again the rest of the show, right?
Dude,
So I fully assume they plan on bringing him back next season for sure.
well, he was wonderful as Thaddeus, anyways. Even if in
Oh
this next season he's gonna be all fucked up, like, he was
yeah,
great,
Pemberton's fucking hysterical, and he
dude.
always plays the same character. And
Yeah,
actually, I think that's just how he is. Like, I think that's just his personality. I don't know. I stumbled across him on TikTok one day. I'm like, yeah, no, this dude he's not even acting. He's just him.
he's just doing it, dude. That's why.
Yeah, he's just that guy.
Yeah, he was fucking amazing. But that thing I wanted to touch on, when they leave Vault 4, he Maximus takes the fusion core and just causes chaos, not knowing that this whole thing. He sees Lucy being dragged, and this whole thing just ends up being you're banished back to the surface. And she's like, "Oh no, really?
And it's really tough out there, so we're gonna give you 2 weeks of provisions, but that's it, and then
That's
you're on your own.
is that really it? Fine, somebody will carry it out to the surface for you, but that's it." I'm like, "Oh my fuck, that's so fucking awesome." This dude has one eye. The overseer has one fucking eye. But Maximus thinks it's
Yeah.
a whole thing, which it looked like. I mean, the shit they were doing in that one scene with like a blood orgy type thing, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like the show just shifted right there. I was like, holy fuck. Um, But I mean, that was sweet scene too. But he takes their fusion core, and that's how he's in the power armor. But she's like, you can't. They're only gonna last a few days to a week, a couple weeks. He's like, yeah, but I need the suit. She goes, Maximus, and he gives the power armor. He gives the fusion core back. I thought that was really cool because that definitely one of those dynamics of the game where it's like your decision's gonna really affect something here, and I really fucking liked that. I liked that Maximus gave it back. I
Yes.
thought that's a pivotal moment for Maximus, given his earlier decisions on Titus and the wrong decision with the chicken fucker scene. Like nothing bad happened to that guy, but he did let the doctor free
Mhm.
when he could have smashed the doctor. So like everything plays into each other here, and I really fucking like that. And obviously this is all like further on in the show, but like at, just so fucking good, just so fucking good. Is there anything you wanted to touch on while we're still like talking about certain episodes?
Um, I really liked the scene in the god damn it the mart
The Super Duper Mart.
super duper mart. Yes, I really liked that scene because it was very much Lucy just showing how little she knows about the world at that time. And and even by the end of it, she the whole time completely oblivious, right? So like she has that scene, and then they run into the cannibals, I'm completely
Beans.
drawing a fucking fiends, yeah. Man, I can't remember shit. Uh, but yeah, like her trusting those people, and Maximus is like, no, fuck no. Like, and him,
That whole
even though
standoff, dude.
yeah, even him being sheltered in the Brotherhood, like he is well more aware of what happens out in the wasteland, whereas Lucy has no fucking idea. She thinks everybody's her friend, she thinks everybody's there to help her, and even as she gets drugged through all of this shit, and quite literally drug at points, right? Like
Yeah.
she still just has that
Okie
natural
dokie.
reaction to try to yeah, okie dokie, to try to trust people and to give people the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, it's just, I think, like I said, the ghoul for me he really just sells the whole thing. And the flashbacks, I mean, the flashbacks to pre-war
Yes.
were incredible.
It made the
And
show that much thicker.
yes,
Like just like without it, because like a lot of shows try shit like that where it's like, but before this there was this, and I'm like, The Witcher was a good example of that. I'm like, oh my fucking
yes,
god, stop, dude! Like you're moving me all over the place. But like this, I was like, no, 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 go back to pre-war, before the
yes.
Great War. Let me see this shit, and like figuring out that Walton got oh my fucking god,
Cooper
was
Howard,
Cooper Howard, dude.
I have
We
it brought up because I can't remember shit.
it's been a week,
As far as
everybody.
names go.
It's been a
Yeah.
week. Cooper Howard was actually in the T-45, and that comes back later. And like who Cooper Howard is, you figure that out very fast. A lot of people
Yes.
didn't figure it out, but I was like, how did you not? Like he did the thumbs up, and then he was in the suit. His wife, which we'll talk about all of that, but like that's a whole fucking sidebar that's going to be dedicated in this episode. But it's cool that he is our Vault Boy. That
Yes.
to me was very fucking cool to figure out that Cooper Howard, Walton Goggins, is the Vault Boy of the entire franchise. That was
Which is
excellent.
wild. Like to have something that is that important to the world be revealed throughout this show is wild.
In a
Like,
non-disrespectful way, because like they could have been like,
yeah,
by the way, that's Vault Boy. They're like, no, let's just let it play on. You'll catch it. Let's let that, and that's what they do. They're not like, by the way, did you
yes.
get it?
There is no signposting, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
of hey, look at this, look at this. Like everything is subtle.
Yeah.
And so if you aren't a fan of the games, you won't catch some of those, but it doesn't detract from how good the show is as a whole. But if you are a fan of the games or have played the games, it just adds to it that much more, and it gives
Oh
you
man.
something to enjoy outside of an exceptionally well put together show. But it also gives you those little tidbits, those little Easter eggs, like the Vault Boy reveal is just so cool,
It's
right? When
awesome.
they do that, you're like, it it's such a iconic. Like if you Google Fallout right now, I guarantee one of the
First
first
thing.
things that will pop up will be Vault Boy. And to have a character now actually associated to Vault Boy is mind-boggling. I mean,
It's
for a
massive for
franchise
the
that has
series.
been around for as long as it has,
Yeah.
and to never have that revealed, and then they do a live adaptation of the of a game, not even an adaptation, but a live show based on the games and based on the world, and to do that is just so cool. And it, not to mention, he is also one of my favorite characters from the franchise as a whole too, when he is the ghoul. And
Yes.
it's just I do kind of hope that we get some sort of like a name for him, like you know, if he goes by a name or something like in the next season, like rather than just the ghoul. I'm also cool with the ghoul because it is very, every time he was on screen, I don't know if you caught it, but he always had a theme song every time
Yes.
he popped up. And even when he was like in a scene and it would cut to somebody else and come back, his theme song would kind of come back in. And everything had this, anytime he's on screen, it's this western feeling. Like I grew up watching a lot of westerns. My dad was a huge fan of westerns. So like it this whole character is just dripping in, you know, Clint Eastwood type of character where
Yeah.
he's the badass and he fucking knows it. And you know, he walks around, has the trench coat, has the hat, cares about his hat probably more than just about anyone, you know?
Can
Like
I can I point out a detail?
yeah.
When they're in the Super Duper Mart, I liked that the chest is right there,
Hmm. And
full
he's
of the drugs. And he's putting it in his hat and in his clothes. And I was like, that's totally like an over encumbering, like
Mhm.
not to over encumbered, right? Like I was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome. Like that's sweet. Like obviously he takes as much of that because like even a fraction of that's gonna last him a while, hopefully. Even though he was downing those drugs, bro.
Yeah, to the point of passing the fuck out.
Oh, he was so high. That was so fucking cool. But it's cool that he gets high and leads in with one of his movies.
Yes.
I was like, oh fuck, we're going back. Again, every time you go back, a lot of shows that they do that. Let's go back to the past. It's one of those like, oh fuck, you're detracting from this, but it's like, no, no, no. Let's go back. Like I've said it again, I'll say it now. Let's go back. I'm excited to revisit what we've just seen, you know?
Yeah.
But like that
I
was a cool nod.
and I almost I don't want to say enjoy more, but I enjoy those scenes so much because a lot of that kind of information and that like pre-war type of setting doesn't really appear in the game so
No.
much. You usually get a brief fraction of it prior to, you know, really getting going where you create your character and this and that. And not even that. Like Fallout 4 had a little bit of it cuz you go into the cryo and everything like that, right? But for the most part, you don't get a huge look at pre-war Fallout or the world of Fallout, aside from like reading notes or
Yeah.
reading logs or stuff like, or listening to the logs and stuff like that. So it is such a unique and great thing, and I actually do hope that they incorporate some more of that, like going forward with the series, do it more in some of the games. Obviously, in a game, it can be a touch tedious, so I hope they don't get too carried away with it. But I think the show is a great medium for them to actually put out some of that information and put out a little bit more about, you know, Vault Tech. Obviously, everybody, you know, if you've ever played the games or whatever, you know Vault Tech's not good. But to see them even painted as evil as they are in the show was kind of a little bit new. Like we knew they weren't good, right? And we knew there's experiments and everything going on, but this really hammered that home, I suppose, and really showed how manipulative the company was and how all of these other companies are trying to, you know, profit off of a war. And then as you find out, also create said war,
So
like in certain cases, right? So it's wild. It's so wild.
that whole twist, which again, Vault-Tec, destruction and the end of the world is their game.
Yes.
That is their business. That is their moneymaker, right? But it's cool that they go into during that board meeting with the different companies, Robco, Vault-Tec, Big Mountain. fucking oh man, I wish I had the list of all
Oh,
the
West Tech or
West
East
Tech,
Tech or something, yeah.
all like they're all there and they're all discussing it with Bud Askins and Howard's wife. What is her name?
Uh,
Uh,
Hang on, I'll get you.
but they're all discussing it at this board table, and it's just this very disgusting because at this point Cooper Howard's already got the little earbud. He's already hacked into the Pit Boy. He can listen to what his wife is saying from her Pit Boy, but within a certain proximity. And it's cool because it's a whole espionage type feel, and it sets up for this crazy reveal later on the last episode, which is also amazing. And they're in this boardroom and they're just discussing like the final thing. And again, to me, what that scene was Vault Tech dropped the bombs first.
Yes.
I've heard people say no, that's not what they're saying. I'm like, yeah, it's very much so what they're saying. And
I
then
mean, they pretty much explicitly straight up said, "We're
yeah,
going to drop the bombs."
but what was sweet about that, the coolest thing everyone took was that right then and there you see Mr. House.
Yes.
Like right then and there, it's like, oh, there's Mr. House. This is huge. This is fucking huge. And there are other big players there too from the other companies, right? So like all of these fucking huge players in basically the game of destruction and the end of the world of the Fallout are there in this boardroom, and then at the way tippy top, there's a shadowy figure watching the entire meeting, who she's taking notes from. Did you get Cooper Howard's wife name? Wife's
Janie.
Janie? No, that's the daughter.
Oh, sorry, Barb. Barb.
Barb. Okay,
I read the line above it.
I was like, ooh, that's weird. Janie's the daughter. Um,
Eh,
so like, it's just wild, and people are like, well, Barb wouldn't let that happen. And I'm like, she suggested it, and again, words have purpose and consequences in this world.
mhm.
There are very few rules in Fallout. Your words and your actions have weight, no matter what you say. There is a
Yes.
weight and there's a consequence to what you say and do. So she suggested it. It therefore happens, in my opinion.
Mhm.
She is, and we don't know exactly what happens either. We don't know what happened to the daughter. We have no idea what happened to her. We have no idea why Coop was left out
And we also don't know necessarily how he became a ghoul,
and
right?
how
We
Moldaver is alive. Because
Yeah.
that's a whole thing. Moldaver's from the past.
Yeah.
So how did she get cryoed?
Well, and I will
But she did it herself because
because
she's
she
so
was adamantly against Voltec prior to the war, right? And the
yeah.
way it was depicted, so she wouldn't have been a part of Vault 31 where everyone was in their cryo. So it's
But that's not
yeah,
everybody. Those are the junior executives in Vault 31.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was the one who pretty much sold off the cold fusion to Vault Tech, if I'm not mistaken on uh that whole portion of the episode. I'm just getting up to get a fucking another water.
No, you're good. Yeah, because Lucy's dad was saying that she's just like us. Like she's just like me. So there's obviously something there. And they left a lot of these cliffhangers intentionally because obviously they planned on doing season 2. Granted, like you said, I don't know if they planned on it being as big of a hit as it was.
I
This
don't
was a
think so.
fucking home run. But yeah, because yeah, at the the very beginning or the first episode when you see the bombs drop and he's riding the horse with Janie and trying to, go away from the bombs, they have to go down this long hill and essentially heading towards where the bombs are.
Yeah.
So obviously he references both his wife and his daughter as knowing that they're alive at the end of the series, and he says like, "Hey, I've been waiting 200 fucking years to ask somebody where's my
Where the
family."
fuck is my
So
family? Yeah.
yeah, so he knows they're both alive or something, right?
Something,
Or
yeah.
or potentially alive, right? Um, so that's part of it. We don't know how he becomes a ghoul. We don't know how
So much.
Moldhaver was there. Like all there was a lot of n- not necessarily vital questions, but a lot of interesting questions, things that I want to know just because hey, let's put a fucking bow on this at some point, but I'm sure they will, right? And I don't think it was like a, "Oh, we forgot." No,
No.
they were dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's. That was entirely intentional.
Everything felt like a chess piece going into place, right? Like, and it felt like that, not, again, not to make you feel stupid or to confuse you, but to make you question. And that's what I fucking really liked, man, because there were certain things, like I said, I jumped to conclusions on certain things. I'm like, wait a minute, though. There's no fucking way. There's no way this would have fallen into place like this. There's no way this would happen. And then we'll do our theories at the end of the episode for sure. But man, like all the revelations that hit, all the revelations. Before we go into like some of those revelations and more of that, what did you think of them using the Gulper? I don't want to say as the main monster. I mean, it was right. Rad roaches were there, um, and really it was the Gulper, but it wasn't like this Gulper because the revelation comes in Vault 4. Basically, that was a vault that was being experimented on. Uh, and it was just this wild, wacky shit where they were mutating people. There's people with ears on their heads. The fucking overseer has one, his Cyclops, basically. Or he is a Cyclops. He's not basically, he is
Yeah,
a fucking Cyclops.
full on
Not
Cyclops.
Scott Summers Cyclops either. This is like a fucking, I would hate to be this Cyclops more than Scott Summers, at least with him, he could wear glass. But like, that was cool, but kind of, and I understand why we didn't get everything we could. Because you don't want to blow your load on the first season. Like, you really don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there is a reason why we don't see super. You technically do see a super mutant, by the way. Episode 2, when they're at the Enclave. Which the Enclave is here, by the way, folks. They're not gone. When they are wheeling that gurney and that green, that's a super mutant hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking, I was like, oh, I was like,
I
alien.
forgot
That's an
about
alien.
that. Yeah.
That's an alien. Then I'm like, I rewatched. I'm like, that's a fucking super mutant, bro. I'm like,
Yeah.
god damn it. So that's sick though. That's really fucking cool. That's like a nice peek into next season, hopefully. People are saying they're kind of on the fence because of what you see at the end with Hank. They're like, oh, well, I think they're going to focus on this, which we will spoil that soon. I don't want to spoil it just yet. But we're going to focus on this creature. I'm like, I think we're going to kind of get a couple, right? Like Mirelurks. I think we'll see some Mirelurks.
Oh, I'm
We weren't
sure.
really by any. We were by water for a minute, like, but we were only by like little ponds and like that fucking flooded area where the Gulper was. But like, I'd be really excited to see some Mirelurks in the next season. Some rad scorpions would be fucking dope. Some geckos
Oh
would be
yeah.
sweet. Some gecks, crazy
Yep.
little fuckers. Like, all of that would be really neat, especially where we're going. But for me, I felt the Gulper it was cool, definitely cool, and I like the little hands inside the mouth. Thought that was disgusting.
Fucking gnarly.
Dude, that whole scene where they're on the docks, she's like, you can't torture people. He goes, I ain't torturing you. Using you as bait. Boom, drops it back in. I was like, that was fucking mean. Like,
Fuck yeah.
but Gulper was cool. Could have used
It was
maybe another
cool.
one.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was necessarily painted as like the main thing,
No.
right? Like I think the wasteland as a whole is painted as the main villain, which
Yeah.
I think they did a good job of not focusing too much. But yeah, you do see the Gulper again in Vault 4 when she goes down below, right? There's a Gulper in one of the tanks, and then
Is
you
it
see
dead? Was
it
it
looked
dead?
like it was dead.
It's just like big. I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck, bro? Get this thing
It
off my
it
screen.
it definitely looked like it was dead. And even some of the secrets of Vault 4 weren't even fully revealed as to what fully was going on there, right? Like we have an
Yeah.
idea of some of the things,
They're
but
all
it
the
wasn't.
Shady Sands dwellers, but like, how did they get
Yeah.
in? Well,
Well,
like,
and
they all let
and
them
the
in, but
ex- yeah, and the experiments and stuff that were going on there, like the extent of them wasn't fully realized, right? Like they showed a portion of it,
dude, the
and
piranhas.
yeah, that
Oh,
was a fucked up scene.
I was like, did a bunch of piranhas come out of that woman's vagina?
Yeah, she gave birth to piranhas that then ate her, which was fucking wild.
From the vagina up, too. Didn't even start. She gave birth. They went, oh, hey, boom. And I went, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like,
it
Perry's
was wild.
face was, she was like, oh. I was like, yeah, that was rough. But it was again, those practical, well, bit of CGI, bit practical. Those effects were fucking chef's
Oh
kiss
yeah.
right there. Those were so fucking. But yeah,
Yeah, but even like as far as why some of them had like noses on their heads and stuff like that, like it doesn't explicitly just be like this is what happened, right? Like it just kind of paints a picture and gives you an idea that there was some fucked up shit going on there. Unless I'm completely forgetting a detail, but I remember it being somewhat open ended.
that's just
I mean,
one of the experiments basically there was just
right?
to like make monsters. It seemed like to me. I mean, there's probably an
Yeah,
overall. We could
and
probably literally go to like a wiki and find what Vault 4 does exactly.
right. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Though where it was kind of open-ended. It doesn't explicitly come out and be like, "Yeah, we were trying to make a fucking Cyclops and we were trying to do this." Like it was just it seemed like there was a general like they were making monsters with between the
Yeah.
pregnant lady giving birth to piranhas and like everything else going on there, but yeah, it's very interesting and we also don't really get a good idea of I mean, we get some idea of why, but I mean, they worship Moldaver, which was
Because she's tried.
interesting.
It was cool because so Moldaver must have already been in that vault and
Yes.
chatted
Right.
with them as well, right? Like, because Moldaver was trying to. Obviously, after Cryo, she spent time in Shady Sands.
Yes.
That is a revelation. Another revelation is that Lucy was in at Shady Sands, and Lucy's mother was
Mhm.
at Shady Sands, and that Hank is the one that fucking nuked Shady Sands. Which, again, to all you Fallout New Vegas fans who were complaining, and I'm a Fallout New Vegas fan, but to all you who complained before you saw that episode because you saw a tweet of a timeline, just watch the show. It's all explained right then and there. Nothing is ruined from the Vegas canon. It's fine, and nothing's ruined from Fallout 1 or 2. It's all kosher. It's all lining up, and it is
Yeah, they
so
I
nice.
mean, they even had people from Bethesda to make sure that everything lined up. Like that was something they were very passionate about was making sure that they didn't fuck any timeline up or
So
anything of
were
that
the
nature.
actors. Because
Right.
when you first encounter that fucking wastelander coming out of the house, basically harassing Lucy in a very nice way, he's like, "You wouldn't have to deal with me too long, and I'm pretty sick." But he's doing the old villager loser walk, where he's like,
Yeah.
that's what that was called. They were called loser villagers or whatever in like the text file for Fallout. But he's like doing that walk, and that was improv, I heard. So everybody attached to the show in one way, other than Walt Goggins, maybe a few others, because Walt Goggins, I straight up said, like, I didn't know the impact of what I said during the scene would be this important. I didn't know of anything, and I was like, dude, like, I don't know how you didn't, because you when you delivered it, I fucking went every hair on my arm.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
holy.
as soon as he started to say it, I was like, finish it, finish it, finish it, finish it.
You know what though? When his wife said it, that felt bigger to me,
It did. It did. Absolutely. Because it felt sinister as fuck.
dude, and that's why that actress kicked fucking ice. She kicked
Oh, she did
ice.
a great job. She
Like,
did so good.
oh, but like that whole argument they have, we're bouncing around. That this is just a.
Yeah, we're all
That's
over the
fine.
fucking place.
That's fine. If you wanted a cohesive podcast, go check out someone else's show. But just also rate us too, please, before you leave.
Yeah. Like still 5 stars, right? Like we're covering the content. I got the fucking wiki up here so I can look up names and shit.
I
We're
got,
doing the thing.
I got a Jangles up there. I got some Fallout stuff. I got a mini nuke up there. I do.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't put my bobblehead back
I
there.
didn't put any of my Fallout stuff right here, like we've been doing here, and they're just throwing some of our shit on our desks. Um, but I like the dynamic between Cooper and Barb. That
Yes.
he is very much just an actor, and he's very strong in his convictions too. Like in the movie that he's filming, he's like, I wouldn't kill this guy. My character wouldn't do that.
Mhm.
And it's like he's very strong in that, but like then to work with Voltec, he's just like, fine, yeah, I'm doing this for my wife. And then they do the fucking party at the house, and he's like, oh my fucking god, like, oh, these people. And like every time Bud talks, like, yeah, cool, Butch. He's like, it's Bud. He's like, yeah, go fuck yourself. And that is awesome because what Bud becomes, right? But like that scene when he hacks into her shit and he starts talking about Vault-Tec to her because he does go to a Moldaver meeting, and he's very much like, I can't listen to any more of this shit. This is dumb. Like, like you guys are just spreading propaganda. She goes, yeah, but take this so you can actually figure out who your wife is because I know your wife and I
Yeah.
know what. And then she's like, I'm trying to. Basically, his wife goes, I'm trying to get us into one of the good vaults. And he's like, what is a
Mm.
good vault? Like, what do you like? I could just pay our way into it. What are you talking? She's like, no, I'm gonna get us into a good vault, which is a vault that is not being experimented on, right? So like right then
Right.
and there, that should cue the viewer in on going, wait a minute, what is a good vault? And that leads people to the games, to the wikis. They go, oh, most of the vaults are fucking vaults that are experimented on. There's control vaults. There's all that. Like what the fuck? And there's like a
Yeah.
main vault. Like oh my
While
fuck.
they were having while they were having that meeting there too, like they basically partnered with all of these other companies, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we're gonna be the head of this shit, but we want you to help design some of the vaults." So then they start going around the table and they're coming up with all these fucked up ideas like, oh, we're gonna have a vault that has limited resources, so they have to fight for the resource. I mean, essentially a Hunger Games type
Yeah.
shit, right? Like there was a bunch of different ideas that were thrown out in that moment. I'm drawing a blank on a couple of them, right?
1,000 men and one woman will
Yeah, oh my
overcrowd a
god.
vault. We will there some of these vaults actually correlate with the games.
Right.
We will bring children in, but we'll kill their parents, and only the smartest and the
Mhm.
strongest children will keep, and the dumber ones will kill, and we'll harvest their organs to make. And it's like what the fuck? It's like a Tim,
Oh yeah.
like a Tim Robinson, like what the fuck moment. Like
Yeah.
they're like these people are truly sick, but it's money. Again, Vaultec's goal and all these companies' goal is money. And what is their job and what is their business? The end of the world. They sell it and they sell it, and everyone's sitting looking pretty. The only one I liked, I was really paying attention to was Mr. House. He's a gambling man. He's the head of New Vegas, and
Mhm.
he's sitting there. You could see he's really going. They're gonna fuck me. Like we're all gonna fuck each other. So I'm gonna
Oh yeah.
fuck them. Which if you know anything about New Vegas withstood all the blast because of Mr. House. If I'm not mistaken, he was pretty much the reason why New Vegas still stands as like a bastion,
Mhm.
in a major city with resources and all this insane shit. That was interesting to me. That was cool to help. That was one moment where it didn't help people understand, but it helped force people deeper to the lore to search it a little bit more and understand what these vaults really are. And vault 31, 32, and 33 literally being a triangle of just like because you later on, and I want to talk about Norm because that is such a tragic tale in and of itself. Vault 33 is a triangle. Vault 31 is where all of the overseers pretty much come from and cycle through to 32 into 33. Um, that was awesome. Norm, by the way, that is that dude. That dude said, "Fuck it, I'm doing the main quest. I'm beelining it."
Yeah.
Lucy's brother said,
Yeah.
fuck this." Chet, I like when he calls Chet out. He goes, "You really?" Because like eventually they Betty realizes, which Betty is also in the flashback. She is who introduces Cooper to
Yep.
Hank, and I was like, "Holy
Yeah,
fuck!"
seeing all of that unfold was fucking
I'm
wild.
like, "Dude,
Like,
son of
the
a
first time
bitch."
he says, "Thank you, Betty," I'm like, "Motherfucker." Like, that's
How
when it clicked. I'm like, "God damn it."
so they end up moving people into Vault 32,
Yeah.
which was neat. They're like, okay, you go to Vault 32, you go to Vault 32, and some of them were like, yes, and some of them were like, ah, fuck, I don't want to. This is where I live. And Jonah, I believe his name was, he's like, nope, not going. Nope, nope, not doing that. I live here, and he's like, I don't live there. I live here. And they're like, no, you live there now. He's like, nope, I live here. But it's funny to see that whole dynamic play with everyone in the vault, and Betty like is understanding. Like, I think people are, or I think Norm at least is catching on. Somebody's catching on to my shit, who I am. And he like when he hacks the computer, I cracked the fuck up. It's like the whole
Yeah.
terminal thing, and I was like, that's cool.
I told Amber, I was like, "That is exactly what it looks like in the game, where it's just a bunch of nonsense and then a word, and you have to like that's what you're doing, selecting the right
Did
word,
you
you know?"
know if you
Like,
select the brackets, like two complete brackets, one here, that close a loop,
mhm.
you get chances back, or it deletes a word in the game?
I feel like I may have known that,
Didn't know
but
that.
I don't I don't remember. Fuck, I remember something of that nature, but I don't. It's been a
It's
long
yeah.
time since I've really played.
But that whole Vault 33 story was also a side quest for us, which we haven't even
Mhm.
talked about on the show yet. Vault 33 was this whole other side of the show that in any other show, when it would go somewhere like that, you would go, like, you've just derailed us. Nope. Nope, nope,
Right.
nope, nope, nope. Because the aftermath of what happened to Vault 33 when Lucy leaves and the Raiders attack is so consequential to what brings you to the end of the show and carries you to the end of the show that you're just like, oh fuck. And everything that happens in there is either hilarious or just like hijinks. You know, they Chet and Norm go to Vault 32 and they discover like this is a vault. I mean, Raiders had to get in somehow, right? Like something
Right.
happened here, and like the people of the vault knew what was going on behind the Vault 31, and that was sweet. And then to see her, that because the song like a lot could happen in 24 hours
Mhm.
when they go back to Vault 32 and she shows them like, well, some of you are coming here, and the vault is just clean, minus a few things. Like the toaster was still fucked up. That was disgusting. The computer was
Yeah.
fucked up, but like the
Yep.
blood was gone, the skeletons were gone, the mayhem, all like, how?
Yeah. There's a lot of questions still around those vaults too, right? Like we see what happens in 31 and we know that there's a handful of them that went to 32, but we don't see anything about 32 for the rest of the show.
Nope.
We don't see what happens to Norm if he ever well, he's trapped in 31 as
So
far
do
as
you
we
want
know
you,
at
do you want
the
to
end of it.
dive into 31 really quick? What he finds?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it does leave that very open-ended as well where
That
there's
was
still a
fucked.
lot that can happen there. But yeah, he he finally wanders over to 31, right? And
He
he
catfished.
hacks that
He
yeah,
catfished so hard.
he hacks that terminal, says he's Betty, and who we later find out is Bud. Um,
That fucked me
Bud's
up.
right.
That's Bud's
uh
buds.
Buds. Um, but anyway, he goes to 31. He gets over there. He realizes this place is fucking empty, right?
Yeah.
And there's this robot, goddamn Roomba with a brain attached to
Which
it.
is what it says in the subtitles.
Yeah.
So
uh,
stupid.
I love it. That is stuck behind debris. Like debris had fallen and he can't get out. And so Norm removes some of the debris so he can get out or whatever. And then this fucking robot tries to stab him with
What
the
what what was the protocol called? He's like, initiate protocol. And
I
he's like,
can't
he's just
remember. But he
he's
has a
just
little syringe that pops out, and then he's as slow as a fucking Roomba and
oh my god.
stupid as a goddamn Roomba and starts running into more shit. Norm just casually steps out of the way.
Don't go in that door.
Um,
Oh, he's
don't
going
go
in
in
the
that
door.
door. Don't read any of the terminals. Don't listen to the audio logs.
He's like, oh, he's
But
doing it. It's so good.
so once he goes through the door, he steps in and realizes that, there's a bunch of people in cryo chambers and everything else. And then, Bud more or less tells him what's going on because Bud is Bud and, just loves to fucking talk. It says everything and then locks Norm in there. So he tells him that it's all the junior executives that were with Vault Tech. They were set here and the whole basically experiment for 31, 32, and 33 was that they are always going to be the overseer. They let them out of the cryo chambers when they need a new overseer, send them over there, and half of them are already transplants that they put there in case of, right?
Yeah.
Like the one that Chet, what's her fucking name,
I
the
almost said
crazy.
Stephanie, but it's not Stephanie.
No, you're right, I think it is Stephanie.
Is it Stephanie?
Yes, Stephanie.
Cool.
Stephanie becomes the overseer of 32,
And
and
she
she was originally from 31.
I hated how like shocked she acted. She's like,
Yeah.
"What?" And I'm like, "Fuck you, bitch!"
Oh
Like,
yeah.
because you could just see in Chet's eyes, he's like, "Yay, baby! Yay, this woman who just like came into my." Okay, time out. When he said that's
Technically,
one
he came
wet
into her.
girl,
Uh,
and
oh.
I was like, me and my wife looked at each other. I was like, what? That was like,
There
sex is
was a
cool.
lot of moments
Se-
throughout there where they were making a sex joke that was just way out of fucking left
It,
field.
but sex is cool. But when you talk like that about it, I'm like, feel icky.
Like in the what was it, the first or second episode where Lucy's like fooling around with your cousin's fun and all, but eventually, like,
But
what the
the
fuck?
and I saw people complain about that shit, and I was like, but this is how these people would talk.
This is
They're
what these
ignorant.
people know.
They're all
Yeah,
ignorant. Like they're just ignorant people, right? To a degree. And
yeah.
when he said that though, and her water broke, I was like, oh, okay, we can get past
Ah,
this. But like for him just to like get all this shit dumped on him, because like Norman knocks on, he goes, yeah, I got like a minute. She has the baby right now, and I'm like, bro, that's not even like your chick. That is
oh yeah,
not. That's not even your baby. It is now, but like
yeah.
she was just like, oh, you're baby daddy now, and he's just like,
Makes him wear that fucking sweater.
oh my god, I'm. She, he tries to take it off. She goes, no, you need to leave that on. He's like, okay, but
Okay.
the whole buds thing was really cool because that's alluded to.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Um, the cryo pods, and then him looking at the computer and noticing his dad was out of cryo.
Hmm. Yep.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. So like, there was a couple times during the season ender where I thought it was going to end there. They do this
Yeah.
whole like boom, and then it goes black for a hot minute. I'm like, no way. No fucking way. And then it doesn't, and then you get like the whole fucking Brotherhood of Steel portion. You get the NCR is reviving
Yeah.
up on the observatory. That was phenomenal shit.
Granted, most of them there died.
Yeah, but they took
Yeah.
it to the Brotherhood of Steel. But you know what I did like? That one ghoul who left the Super Duper Mart, who was
Yeah.
working, is like, it's her.
Recognized her. Yeah.
I was like, dude, again, consequences and actions, and
Yep.
it's like it just so carefully put into place, and the puzzle pieces are just they fit so nicely because of the writing and the actors behind it, and just the entire team of like dedicated and loving people. The people who wrote and made this series played the games.
Oh yeah.
Like like they
I
played
I
these
would
games.
argue they studied the fucking games because I've played
Yes.
most of the games. I am by no means like a diehard Fallout fan though. So like the knowledge that these people had and I'm sure they did a shitload of research going into this,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, like they very carefully crafted this show. It was not I mean, in stark contrast to the Halo series,
Oh
right?
my
Like,
god, this is how you make a video game adaptation.
yes, they absolutely loved the world. They put so much love into this show and made sure that everything fit just fucking perfectly.
Oh yeah.
And it was everything I hoped for and more.
Well,
Because I was very skeptical going into this and they fucking nailed it.
dude, look at the whole Philly scene, man. Like that scene alone with that's episode 2. Like Philly itself was amazing to look at because you go into this town and it's just all these different groups of people from raiders,
Mhm.
gang members, faction members, right? So you see some cons. I just noticed that you could see cons from New Vegas in California. That is neat. There's a bunch of different little. You gotta really open your eyes here for this shit, right? There's a guy
Yeah.
selling iguana on a stick and shit like that, and like people chemmed out and like people just fighting, and that whole scene was amazing. Then to go into the shop and you're just looking at all these things on the wall. You're like, that's a laser pistol. That's a fucking
Yeah.
las rifle, and there's a mini nuke, like I said, and there's all these pit boys. Oh, that's the pit boy from Fallout 76. What is that do? What is the pit boy from Appalachia doing here? Like, how are all these different models? So it just really makes you go, oh, okay, this is in lore. This is in canon. It's all there.
Oh, yeah.
But there are people coming from the capital wasteland, from Boston to Appalachia, English. I, obviously
Depends on where
California.
you're from.
We're from the
That
Midwest
one
here.
gets thrown around a lot of different ways, right?
Um,
Uh,
from New Vegas, apparently, right? So it's really fucking cool, man. The attention to detail in all of it is so amazing, and I would be remiss not to bring up that Philly scene for the
Yeah.
fights, for the humor. You really get to see Maximus just try to be the hero, and he just really sucks at it. Um, Ghoul, obviously, in that scene, that's a very small drop in a very large bucket of drugs line, which
Yeah.
I really wish they didn't show in the commercials. That was a good line. It was
That
good
was very
regardless,
good.
but I kind of wish they would have held off on that because of how good it was.
It would. I do think that that whole scene like added to the context and really what was happening there
Yes,
because in the trailer they basically show her walk out and then end up shooting him with that gun, right, or with the Kim gun or whatever, and and then that's said, right. Well, in the
it's
context of what
deeper.
is
Yeah,
actually happening, like homie just killed a bunch of fucking people and she comes out and shoots him with this little fucking stem, and that's when that line gets read off or when he says that line and it does add to it. But yeah, I agree. That would have been a good one to leave out of it. But at the same time, like I get it from a promotional standpoint and what they were trying to do, but yeah, that was probably one of the better one-liners, and not to say that there weren't other
there
good
is
one-liners,
one.
especially from the ghoul.
There is
But
one I'm going to bring up in a minute, but I will say, promotionally, they didn't give shit away.
no, no,
They
they did
that
not.
even the trailers that you did see, you're going in blind no matter what. You're basically seeing a little bit episode 2, small portion of episode 1 with the vault freak out, and
Mhm.
a little bit of here and there. But like that's the way to do a trade. Those are ways to do trailers, in my opinion. It's like I went in going, I've seen. Oh, I haven't seen this. I guess. But
Yeah.
holy shit.
Without
Okay,
the context,
you,
it
the
it doesn't
doctor.
give anything away. Yeah.
I didn't know that was the doctor in the trailer. Obviously, you wouldn't know that, and that's
No.
they could have shown a whole doctor scene in the trailer, right? But like they didn't, and that was important because it leads up to it's his head, right? Like she cuts his head off with a ripper, and that was a whole thing, which is hilarious. He just holds up the piece of paper. He's like, "Yeah, that's him." It's like, I don't know, man. I don't think so. It is, but how did you? All right, Thaddeus. But like, it's really good stuff, man. Fuck, man. I'm so pissed that we're gonna be waiting.
While
I don't think 2 years. The Boys comes out every year. It only didn't that every other. God damn it.
it's gonna be 2 years, bud. I almost guarantee it.
That sucks.
It does.
This is this is everything we've wanted. Like, and in between then, hoping BioShock is good. Whenever that releases,
I hope so too.
God of
I'm
War.
concerned about both of those.
Are you? But God of War's being handled by Amazon too. I feel like it's gonna
Yeah,
be tricky though.
but they also handled the Rings of Power, so I mean, not
People,
everything they
some
do.
people liked it.
I thought it was okay, but that's also from somebody who doesn't like isn't absolutely in love with the
Lord of
world
the
of Lord of the
Rings.
Rings. So just as a show, like it was okay. But yeah, no, I think, uh, man, I don't know. God of War, I feel like is going to be a very hard adaptation. I think that's going to be a difficult thing to pull off in a way that is convincing and looks good, and it's going to be a rough one, I
It's the
think.
voice, man. It's the voice for me. You got to get that Kratos voice good.
You
And
gotta
where
get
are
that
we
voice.
starting with Kratos?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I
are we
don't want to
going back
start.
to
I don't want to start in Greek. I want to start in Roman. Or
yeah.
no, I don't want to start in Norse. I want to start in Greek.
Oh, you wanna go back to Greek. Okay,
Yes, that's what I meant
yeah.
to say.
See, and I don't have a ton of connection to the Greek portion of God of War because I wasn't the PlayStation kid, right, growing
Yeah,
up. So I didn't really get into it until the reboot. So my my version of Kratos is very much the
the
Norse
dad Kratos.
yeah, dad Kratos,
Mine is
which
the
is
one with the sex mini games.
yeah, fair enough.
That's
Yeah, like played a little bit of them, but I never really got fully into it at that time. But yeah, BioShock worries me too. And granted, that one could be awesome, right? Especially if they use the Big Daddy sparingly. if they use them sparingly, because I think that is going to be the make or break thing where the first time you see a Big Daddy and you go,
Oh,
oh, what the fuck?
but if they do what Fallout did, again, you look at Fallout and look at the Brotherhood of Steel. I don't care what some people said. Oh, it looks cheap. Dude, shut the fuck up. The
I
Brotherhood
thought
is
the
they
I
looked
thought they looked
badass.
great.
The
Yeah.
knights looked amazing. There was so much weight every time they moves. You can when they're throwing punches, it's like it whirls up and like
Mm-hmm.
everything felt so heavy in them. And that's another ghoul scene I'm going to bring up in a minute. There's two ghoul scenes that were my favorite. You want to hit those? You want to hit
Yeah.
those really quick?
I know exactly which scene you're thinking of right now, and it's so fucking good.
Scene one, the first ghoul scene that was one of my favorites, is a scene that I like to call honest exchange. Lucy bites his finger off
Yeah.
and runs. He catches her and he goes, takes the knife and just goes, and he goes, that's the first honest exchange you and I have had. I went, that is tight as, that's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Hard as fuck. The second one was they are at the observatory, and Maximus and some Brotherhood Steel Knights are inside, and it's just Ghoul on the stairwell, which people were bitching like, "Oh, why is he there?" And why did they just shoot? Shut the fuck up. He's standing at the stairwell, and he's like, "I bet you feel like a pretty big man in that power armor, that suit you're wearing." I know that because I wore one myself. But you see, the T-45 armor had a flaw, the welding right under the waist. Because I wonder if they fixed it. It just fires. And when he fires, you can see that bullet fucking carve in and then just punch
Mm-hmm.
right through that dude. And I was like, that was
And just a little blood spurt out the side, and
so good.
oh,
It was the
so
bullet
good.
carving. It was just like,
Yeah.
boom, and it punched through. I was like, what the? That was awesome.
Yeah, because and for, I'm sure most people who are listening to this, especially this far into it, you are well aware. But his revolver that he uses all the time is a fucking shoots little mini nukes, and it's so cool.
Like
But yeah,
shotgun
you can watch
shells.
it go,
So
and they
good.
always make that mini nuke sound too, which is so
Yes.
fucking good too.
Yes.
But
So
yeah, and
fucking
then
good.
proceeds to pull the fucking fusion core out and then fight them in the dark, which is
The
awesome. It was
grenade.
just one of those.
The
Yes.
grenade, he takes a grenade and sticks it basically between the helmet and the chest, the neck area, so it's stuck on the collar and it just pops. And so the next scene, there's just this Brotherhood of Steel Knight just walking headless. It just drops. But by this
So
time,
good.
though, you've also learned who Hank is.
Yes.
Hank is Kyle MacLachlan fucking killed it. I love him. I loved him in
Yes.
Twin Peaks, and I love him here. And I loved him in Dune, obviously, as Paul Atreides. But Lucy's dad is a piece of shit. He nuked Shady Sands, right? Like,
You like
it,
sloppy steaks.
yeah, he's definitely a real piece of shit. Um, he likes to slop him up. But he's a bad guy. He is the main villain of
Yeah.
the entirety of this series so far. And it's interesting to me because the entire time he's like, "Well, listen, I did it for your good," blah blah blah. Like this, she's like, "Well, why don't you tell her what you did to Shady Sands?" And to her, there's a ghoul at that table the entire time. And it was Lucy's mother. And then like the flashback hits. She was not in the vault. Those flashbacks you see of Lucy and her mom, you're like, "Oh, that's the vault." Okay. No, she's
Yeah,
at
because it's like corn and shit right there,
Shady
right? Like it.
Sands, dude. It was thriving at this point in the lore,
Mhm.
and it was like great, and like the sun was baking my skin because it was like that was the sun,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah, because she
fuck,
even earlier in the season, she was talking to Maximus. She's like, "Yeah, I used to think, like the sun, the like video screen
yeah.
they essentially have up there. She's like, I used to feel like I could feel the sun from the vault, and she thought she was in the vault, but she was actually at Shady Sands, which
And
is
it's
fucking crazy.
and which Maximus was there too, and that's fucking wiggity wiggity. So they always had a bit of a connection because they're about the same age,
Yeah,
I would say. So
yeah, pretty close. Yeah,
um, that was fucking sick. He's a total piece of shit, total piece of shit.
yeah.
Um, eh,
But the ghoul thing, like, I didn't realize
no,
that was her mom until they explicitly like showed the necklace and then
in
showed the neck.
her The rope, dude.
entangled into the skin that had grown over it, and then or skin, I say loosely, but
Yeah.
yeah, like that whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, who the fuck is this person? Like,
Why is
why
this
is
ghoul
this
here?
ghoul here?
Yeah.
And also, like, the whole time I'm going, why'd they keep her alive at this point too?
But it's
But I
cool.
think it was just a
Moldaver,
Moldaver just couldn't let go, which fair enough, right? But
which
it
that's
was
good on itself too, because you're led to believe that Moldaver is the baddie,
yes.
and she's not.
From the very first episode?
Hmm.
Or is it the second episode?
The first episode, because that's when she
Yeah.
fucking breaks into the vault.
Yeah. Yeah, from that whole time forward, you think she's bad up until, like, the last maybe second half of the 7th episode.
It's like,
Like,
wait a minute,
holy shit.
dude. But like that was all amazing, man. And like again, it doesn't destroy any of the lore that's there.
Right.
Like none of it's destroyed, and she gives Moldaver the cold fusion, and then forces Hank to give the code, which the code is 10-10-97. Fallout 1 released 10
Yeah.
97. Pretty fucking cheeky little thing they did, right? I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
Um
It's a subtle thing that if you know
it,
kinda thing, right?
it's really, it was really nice though. It's like, oh, that is
Yeah.
really cool. Like I like that a lot. And then Maximus breaks in. I'm her dad. Let me out. He goes, okay. Pop, and she. And I'm like, dude, again, you did this. This is like third time, like again. And he just grabs that power armor suit, man. He's just fucking out of there. And series ends.
Not without getting a little bit of a shot from the ghoul. He
Well,
did that strike on the cheek, right?
he fires at him, and then he also, the revelation is, before he was this, he used to take out my wife's dry cleaning and wash our clothes. And I was like, that's fucking
Mhm.
hard. He's like talking shit to him, little Hanky or whatever he called
Yeah.
him, Henry. He called him Henry,
Yeah.
and
The and I just wanted to talk about that briefly,
yeah,
like
yeah,
where he shoots him in the cheek. Like the ghoul has not missed a single fucking
it was
shot that he's taken yet.
was
He
weird.
intentionally did
Hmm.
not kill him because
Yep.
he absolutely could have. And I thought that was interesting. Obviously, he wanted to ask him questions. Like his whole thing is finally I can ask where the fuck is my family type of thing, you know, and it which was awesome. Like that was one of those moments that you get shivers too, right?
Yep.
Like just so goddamn good.
And
Oh,
that whole scene is really good because it ends. We'll talk about what Bev and and oh my god, dude, I'm fucking Cooper say at the end of
no.
the series. But Cooper's sitting there and he's like, because her dad just escapes at this point and he's out, and he's like, are you gonna come with me or not? Because they're gonna come, and believe me, they're going to be here, and when they get here, they're going to kill everything. You're talking about the Brotherhood of Steel.
Mhm.
When they take this place over, and believe me, they will, and they will
Yes.
kill everything here. They will not
Yep.
spare you. And then it's the ghoul, Lucy, and Dogmeat, man. And that's that.
Yeah.
Maximus is left behind because he gets knocked the fuck out by Hank. Just one quick boom, and he's just on the ground. I'm like, oh, there goes Maximus. But the it ends though really with where Hank is and where he's headed, and that is to New Vegas. You see a Deathclaw skull. You see New Vegas in the distance, not destroyed. Yeah, it looks like there was a war that happened there, but New Vegas is very much so still there. For everybody again who went, they destroyed New Vegas. It got nuked because the thing said it. It's there. It's still there. Not nuked.
Yep.
They didn't destroy it. They stop saying Bethesda hates New Vegas. I'm sure they're a little bummed out that it did better than all their Fallouts, but it's still there. It's canon. And that's where that show ends. But not before Cooper and his wife deliver the War Never Changes. And she
Yes.
delivers it during the boardroom meeting, and it's like pretty much the ending of it. She goes, and my final note is that war never changes. And then you see Coop, and he's like, "War never changes." I was like, "Yeah, buddy!" I was like, "Let's go!" It's just fucking phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
It's just too
And
fucking good.
and they had to have that line in there, right? Like
I'm surprised
it's
no
such
Ron
a
Perlman.
yeah, it's such a like important phrase to Fallout. Like it is one super incredibly fucking iconic,
Yeah, you need
and
it.
and but it's also just like I mean, it's the fucking tagline for the series. Like it had to be in there at some point, right? And
Yeah,
so, like you said, there's two different versions of that. And when she says it, it is the most sinister fucking thing, right? And this is right around the same time you start hearing all of these fucked up ideas about, hey, this we want to create this vault, we want to do this, we want to do that, and she's like, yeah, we're gonna be the ones to fucking drop the bombs because and then leads into the war never changes thing. You're like, oh, that's fucked. Like that's
yeah.
real fucked. And then meanwhile, when Coop drops it and he's like, he's been through war, he's been through 200 years of the fucking
Just
wasteland,
hell. Yeah,
just absolutely drugged through fucking hell. And he says it has a very different feeling, right? Like it is this very important, very exhausted almost,
it
but
was very
not
exhausting. Yeah,
he's exhausted as hell, but he is also not ready to give up type of thing. And it was perfect the way they did it to take the same phrase and give two different spins on it to mean something entirely different. I thought it was really well done.
yeah. No, it was, man. And both times, like I said, the hair on my arm stood up, and I was like, "God damn, the show, man!" Again, I would have liked to hear Ron Perlman say it at some point, but you can't have everything. And I'd be stoked if he is in the next season as a cameo of some sorts, right? Like that'd be fucking cool.
I wouldn't even be surprised if they brought him back as like a narrator or something to just open up season 2 or something,
Could you
like right at the
imagine
beginning.
if they used him to recap
Yeah,
episodes
that's
in the
what I'm
last season?
yeah, something like
Oh
that,
my
and then
god.
at the end, drop the war never changes line, and
That's how you
that'd be
start season
sweet.
2?
That'd be
Dude.
sweet.
So that's Fallout season 1 though, man. I mean, and we're not done with I'm not ready to hang up the it's we're close to being done. There's one more section I want to do before we end, but for me this is a smash hit. This was a
Oh,
fucking home run for Bethesda. This is the win that they needed that I think that will help carry them in their next titles. I think seeing this, yes, it's television. It's not a video game, but it's still their IP. It's still something that they needed to see win to give those people working on their next titles, which they are working on Fallout 5. They're working on the next Elder Scrolls. They need to see that people want their worlds and they still love the worlds that they've given us.
yeah. Mhm.
No matter the medium. This was important for not only Bethesda though, but for video game adaptations. Last of Us, Sonic, Fallout, Twisted Metal. I mean, we're really knocking it out of the park with these. And the people who made Halo need to look at this and go, hey, fuck, Gears of War, when that comes out, look at this and go, okay, source material is important. Lore is important. Might not be able to get everything right, but we have to do right by the people who love this and by the creation itself. And that's what Fallout did without being too fan servicey, without being it's it's not it is in your face to a degree, but it's not like force feeding you everything about Fallout. It's just like, hey, we just paid close attention and we made it Fallout. And you're like, yep, that's good enough. This is fantastic. So
Yeah.
for me, the show gets a 10 out of 10. 9.5. There are a couple 9.5. It's deducted zero point 0.5 because I would have liked to see more creatures. I would have liked to see, like I said, Mirelurks or Rad Scorpions or something at Gex or something in between that. Not necessarily a Death Claw, not necessarily a fucking super mutant right away. I understand that. I would like maybe a glowing one would have been cool, or like a little UFO or an alien or something to really show that there are no rules here, but there are
Right.
rules to a degree. So yeah, 9.5 for me.
I'm probably 9.5 as well. Like I said, I had that one little story hiccup for me personally when he returns to the Brotherhood. That one kind of threw me for a loop, and it didn't make sense with how the Brotherhood is,
Yeah,
and kind of how strict they are. But other than that, I didn't have any other story issues, right? I was okay with not having more creatures because, like you said, can't blow your load
Yeah.
in the first season. And also, I didn't want it to become a fucking monster of the week type of situation either, you know?
Yeah.
So I was kind of cool with how they did that. The drip feed, and the little Easter eggs here and there that they threw it in there that weren't entirely in your face, right? Like now I want to go back and watch the second episode so I can see Philly again and see how they had all of these little things that I missed, right?
Hmm.
Because I caught a lot of the more obvious ones up, but when it came to some of those more intricate ones, especially since it's been so long since I have jumped into the world of Fallout, I misremembered some things and forgot about things, and I'm like, oh, it would be cool to go back to that again, and just look for some of those Easter eggs. Um, I the fact that this captured my wife as well as it did, as someone who has never played the Fallout games, she probably has briefly watched me play a little bit of them. She knows nothing about the fucking world, and and she loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. I loved it more than The Last of Us, and she adored The Last of Us. She
Right.
said she did say, she's like, "Well, The Last of Us always was, like, sad at the end of it,
It's
like,
a really
always
downer of a show.
fucked me up." Yeah. She's like, This one never really had that, right?" But, yeah, I think they really absolutely knocked this out of the park. I think it is, in a way, a win for Bethesda. I think the problem with Bethesda is, they have been kind of making some games that have not hit recently,
Yeah.
or not even recently. I mean, just Starfield was certainly not the win that they needed, and Fallout 4, which what I mean, the last mainline Fallout game. I mean, the 76 is whatever, right? But Fallout 4, like, people didn't really care for,
Yeah.
and so and it did kind of feel like some of the writing on that had gotten phoned in a bit, right? Where they almost lost that flavor that really made Fallout so
Special.
fun to play through and special, right? And then they got to 76, and it was soulless. I mean, I don't want to say soulless, right? But not having NPCs that make the world interesting is something that hurt the game and hurts the world as a
The
whole. So
state in
then when
which
they
it came
finally,
out, though, too.
right, and it came out, yeah, and that's what I'm referring to,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they've fixed a lot of that and
People
made
seem to love
changes
it.
where people, yeah, people like it now. But that certainly wasn't a win for them, and they, people are now buying it, but they're also buying it for a fraction of the price of what they were paying for it.
And
So
or
it
got it
is
for
like,
free from Amazon.
yeah, exactly. But it's just one of those things that I think this game, or sorry, this show was so special, and I think it is in a world where we actually do finally have good adaptations, like, like you said, Sonic. We have Twisted Metal. We have The Last of Us, Fallout. It really puts into perspective how fucking bad Halo was, which was already bad to begin with. But
So
10
bad.
years ago, if they would have came out with something like Halo, you'd been like, yeah, that's about par
Go
for the
figure.
fucking course. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we actually have these good adaptations that make Halo just look that much fucking
I
worse.
would
And
hate to be on that team right now.
it's, eh, it's goddamn embarrassing, right? Like, and
343 allowed it to happen.
which is even more
Geeky
embarrassing,
wolf
right?
kill on fucking video going, you guys are gonna love it. And she's just smiling. I'm like,
Right.
why'd you lie? Why,
Yeah.
why did you let this happen?
And I don't want to detract from the people that have worked hard for on these shows
No.
and stuff, right? But at the same time, like, how are you gonna fucking put out a Halo property without actually watching or playing the games or knowing anything about the fucking world? Like, that shit. Regardless, we're not talking about Halo, but it's an easy one to fucking
How are you gonna
kick.
put out season 3 after Fallout came out?
Yeah, exactly. And that was the comparison I more so wanted to make, I suppose. But I got down to kick that fucking dead horse, I suppose. But
Beating the shit out of it, dude. Freaking
yeah,
jumping it.
but no, They did this so exceptionally well, and it was everything that I could have hoped for and more.
Yeah,
And they expanded upon the lore. They honored the world. They fucking, I mean, made everything that they did in here was to pay homage to what had come before it, and they did it so well while still telling a story that people that have never even played the games can wrap their head around. Like I
yeah.
was the first couple episodes in, Amber was like, I have so many questions, but I don't want to ask any of them because
Justin.
I want to see if they get there. And I was like, that's a good experiment for, the podcast side of it, where I can be like, so do you have any questions about this? Or like, did they explain it well enough that you understand what's going on, not knowing anything about this world? And by the end of it, she had everything she needed, right?
So
And I think
gnarly.
that's such a good thing to be able to say about something that has years and years and years of content behind it, and they're just you know cherry picking a set of vaults or whatever and creating this world, and they did it exceptionally well. And
Oh yeah.
at the end of it, she had a couple little odd questions, but it was more about like just how it interconnected with
Hmm.
things that have already come before. It wasn't even really about the world. She understood, what Vaultec was. She understood everything because it explains it well enough that newcomers can get into it. People who love the series can get into it, and they're not gonna be pissed off. Well, some of them will be pissed off, but
Yeah.
whatever, right? But for the most part, like people aren't gonna be like, well, they disrespected this part of it, and it's like, no, they fucking honored everything.
Yeah.
They thought of everything. Everything was just putting an I somewhere, or a dot on an I, or a cross through the T, or like it just added to the world, and it was truly like one of probably my favorite shows that I've watched in a long time. And I mean
Yes.
that's in a year where we've had Shogun and
Yeah.
like I mean and Shogun's fantastic too, right? Like there's a lot of good shit out there right now, and this still stands out on its own.
Oh yeah, dude. This again. This was a knockout. This is the home run that Amazon Studios frankly needed as well after Lord of the Rings. Even though they got the boys, Gen V, and all that, those are invincible. I mean, those are all in a league of their own.
Amazon's doing
They're
doing all
fine.
right with their TV, right?
So, um, yeah, dude. I mean, I guess Fallout would get a 9.5 WSD and beyond.
Yeah.
Damn near
And
perfect.
and even the point .5 is probably
So
nitpicking, right?
we
Like,
had to nitpick. We
yeah,
had
you got a
to.
little nitpick a little
You
bit.
have
It's
to.
fine.
Um, my question. I'm going to posit. We're at 2 hours.
Jesus.
Do
I I figured it'd be a long one.
do we for next week do a theories episode? Because there is a lot of shit to theorize on with season 2 on its way.
I will yeah, we can most definitely do that. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that you're going to probably have better theories than I do, because especially with them heading to New Vegas, I am not as familiar with New Vegas. I never played all the way through New Vegas.
Yeah.
So and honestly, I don't even know how much of it I really even played. I remember playing it at one point, but not extensively by any means. So I don't know a ton about that portion of the world. So that's going to be a lot more
Well, there's
you.
also a lot of theories I want to dive into on the show. Where
Okay.
his
Yeah.
family is, why they're headed to New Vegas, why did Hank go there, what is in New Vegas that is so important? Because he went with haste. That motherfucker
Yeah.
went across the Mojave
Yeah.
to get to New Vegas with haste. So there's a lot there. How did Cooper survive? How did his daughter survive? You know, the bombs. Like, there's a lot to really dive into, and I think to try to cram that here would be very shit, for a lack of better words.
It'd be a long one. Yeah, we would
It's another
easily have
45
at
minutes.
least yeah, at
Another 45
least.
minutes. So
So yeah, I think that's probably not a bad idea. And like I said, I'm gonna touch on Stellar Blade next week too,
cool.
whether you like it or not.
I'm cool with it. I'm here for it, man. I say we cut it. We
Yeah,
said a mega episode in 2 hours. We haven't done that in a long time.
yeah.
That's like
That's that's
OBO
that's about as close as we're gonna get to a mega episode for
and
sure.
sober and sober. Neither of us are drunk.
Right?
OBO was easy because we were wasted. 2.5 hours
Yeah.
felt like nothing back then. I was like, what the fuck? work. But I really do hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed making it. The show brought us such delight, and it was so awesome to sit with Brody and really dive into the show that we've been talking about nonstop with our entire spawn camp who've watched it. Um, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing experience talking to it about Final Boss as well, like what he's been talking to me about, and like the drop. Please buy that drop today. It's so awesome. The hoodie, it's amazing. The wall flag, the pin, the
So
surprise
good.
ghoul shirt, just the shirts in general. It's all there. Final Boss with the drop, the Fallout drop. It's so awesome. Don't forget about Doc Longy with the Doom Swift drop coming out. Join the Spawn Camp. It is always free. No paywalls here. Come game with us. Come watch TV. Just come have a good time. Check out Brody's show, Rule for Deception. Um, that comes out when, Brody?
I'm aiming for Wednesdays now, unless something comes up on Tuesdays. But it'll probably be Wednesdays going forward. At worst, it'll be Thursday.
Fantastic. So check out Wednesdays and Thursday or Thursdays for Roll for Deception. That is Brody's D&D show with him DMing and our good friend Nick DMing as well. It's all here in the Spawn Camp, WASD and Beyond, every Friday at 5 a.m. Check that out. 11:30s on YouTube. I will not miss another week of upload. I fucking promise. We're not going to do that again. We're so stoked. Expect a little bit more streams to be happening. I'm going to start streaming some Fallout. I'm just getting everything kind of situated in my situation to do so. Yeah. Thank you guys for sticking around for 2 fucking hours. Appreciate it, man. I hope you guys like the episode, like I said, as much as we enjoyed making it. Until next week, take it easy and be safe.
WASD never changes.
No, it does not.